Okay, so today we're going to break down a federal lawsuit called Texas v. Kennedy. Now, this might sound like it's just about healthcare rules, but stick with me because it could fundamentally change your child's right to an inclusive education. We're going to connect the dots for you.
Right, so you're probably thinking, a healthcare lawsuit? How on earth could that threaten my kids' rights at school? Well, that's exactly what we're going to unpack.
All right, first things first, let's dig into what this lawsuit is all about, and more importantly, who's actually behind it.
So, what we have here is a group of 9 states. They've all come together to file this case in federal court. And their main argument? That these updated disability rights protections, well, they're saying they're unlawful and even unconstitutional.
Okay, so to really get what's at stake here, we need to talk about the law that's right in the crosshairs of this whole thing. And that law is Section 504. So what is Section 504? Well, it's a huge deal. It's a landmark civil rights law from way back in 1973. And for students, its core promise is something called a free, appropriate public education. You'll often hear it called FAPE. Basically, it means schools have to provide the support a student with a disability needs to actually get their education. You've probably heard of this through what's called a 504 plan. And this is where the rubber meets the road. This is what Section 504 actually looks like for a real student. You know, for a kid with dyslexia, it's not some abstract legal idea. It's the text-to-speech software that helps them get through their history reading or getting that extra time on a big test. These are the practical, real-world supports that make sure they can learn right alongside everyone else. Okay, so this lawsuit, it's not just chipping away at the edges. It takes direct aim at a really core principle of Section 504. And this is a big one because it's all about where and how your child gets to learn. Before we get into all the legal jargon, let's just be super clear about what this is really about. At its heart, this is all about inclusion. It's about whether your child has the right to learn in a regular classroom, with their peers, with their friends, while still getting the support they need to succeed. It's that simple. Now, in legal terms, this simple idea has a powerful name, the integration mandate. It's this fundamental concept that people with disabilities have a right to be part of their communities, to live, to work, to learn, not to be segregated away in institutions unless it's absolutely necessary. This isn't a new idea either. The Supreme Court made this crystal clear back in 1999 in a huge case called Olmstead. And this is so important to remember. This right wasn't just handed down from on high. It was fought for, it was won. It exists because of decades of tireless protest and advocacy from the disability community, like the incredible Section 504 sit-ins back in 1977, where people literally put their bodies on the line to demand their civil rights. So, okay, how exactly are these states trying to weaken this fundamental right to inclusion? Let's break down the core of their legal argument. It gets a little tricky, but it's super important. All right, check this out, because this is the critical distinction. For decades, the law has been understood to protect people who are at risk of being segregated. You see a problem coming, and the law steps in to prevent it. But this lawsuit, it argues something totally different. It says the law should only kick in after a person is already segregated in an institution. And as you can imagine, advocates are saying, whoa, that's way, way too late. And listen, this isn't just some abstract legal theory they're floating. The court where this case was filed, the Fifth Circuit, has actually endorsed this exact idea before. They are the only federal appeals court in the entire country that sees it this way, which is why this case is happening there. So, this brings us full circle, right back to that first big question. What does all this legal maneuvering about a healthcare rule have to do with your kid's classroom? Let's connect those final dots right now. The answer is actually pretty simple, but it's incredibly powerful. It all comes down to this: same law, shared risk. See, even though the lawsuit is targeting healthcare regulations, both the healthcare rules and the education rules your child relies on are built on the very same legal foundation. And that foundation is Section 504. Here's a good way to think about it. Imagine Section 504 is the concrete foundation of a big building. That single foundation supports the whole structure, all the different rooms. You've got a room for healthcare protections, another room for education protections, all resting on that same base. So if this lawsuit succeeds in putting a big crack in the part of the foundation holding up healthcare, well, that crack isn't just going to stay put. It could easily spread and weaken the entire structure, threatening the part that holds up your child's rights at school. So you can see this dangerous chain reaction starting to form. Step 1. A court weakens the integration mandate for healthcare services. Step 2, that ruling creates a brand new and really dangerous legal precedent for all of Section 504. And then, Step 3, that new precedent could be used as a weapon to argue that schools aren't required to keep students with disabilities in general ed classrooms anymore. And really, that brings us to the ultimate takeaway here. This is why a case that, on the surface, looks like it's just about healthcare has disability and education advocates so incredibly worried. Because the bottom line, a threat to Section 504 in one place is a threat to it everywhere. So ultimately, this case leaves us with a really fundamental question to think about. If a civil right can be chipped away and weakened in one area, is it ever truly safe in any other? It's a powerful reminder that these rights, which people fought so hard for, are never set in stone. They have to be constantly watched over and defended.